I took away my ungrateful sister's Christmas gifts. After she accused my boyfriend of grazing her thigh, but everyone was right and he really was a creep, a serial cheater, and now he's in jail while I'm a financial wreck and my family won't help me because I defended him. Hi everyone, long-time lurker, first-time poster. I honestly never thought I'd write anything here, but I don't know who else to talk to without feeling like I'm dragging the whole situation back into the room. For context, I'm a 30-year-old woman, and I've always been the organized one in my family. I'm the one who plans birthdays, remembers anniversaries, buys thoughtful gifts, books restaurants, hosts holidays, all that. I actually like doing it, and it makes me feel useful. My younger sister is 23, more emotional, more spontaneous. My parents always worried about her more, so I naturally took on the responsible older daughter role. No big dramatic feud, just basic family dynamics. This past Christmas was the first big family gathering we'd had in years. I offered to host at my apartment and went all out: food, decorations, matching pajamas, gift baskets for everyone. I probably spent way too much, but I wanted it to feel special. It was also the first holiday with my boyfriend Tyler, who I'd been dating for about 8 months. He's 36, charming in that extroverted way. My family loved him, or so I thought. He brought wine, made jokes, helped me cook. He looked like the missing puzzle piece. About halfway through Christmas dinner, my sister suddenly excused herself. She looked upset, but I figured she was overwhelmed or tired. Later, she pulled me aside in the hallway and told me Tyler grazed her thigh under the table. She said it quietly, like she was embarrassed to even mention it. I didn't even let her finish before getting defensive. I immediately decided she misunderstood, or wanted attention, or disliked him for some reason. In my head, it felt like she was trying to ruin the night I worked so hard on. So instead of listening like a decent human, I confronted her in front of everyone. I asked her what she was trying to imply about my boyfriend. She wouldn't repeat it publicly, which I took as a sign she made it up. I was so embarrassed and angry that I grabbed the gifts I'd bought her, nice ones, not dollar store stuff, and told her she could leave if she was going to accuse people of things. She left crying. Nobody said anything. My parents looked uncomfortable but didn't step in. I took their silence as agreement. That night, Tyler held me and told me my sister was unstable and jealous. He said I deserved someone who stood up for me and didn't let my family walk all over me. It felt validating at the time. The next morning, he acted completely normal, complimented the food, and helped clean up. I convinced myself my sister was dramatic and would apologize eventually. Instead, she blocked me. My mom gently tried to talk to me, and I snapped at her. I told her I was tired of everyone treating my sister like she was made of glass. I even went as far as saying if she didn't want to be accused of lying, she shouldn't make wild claims. Looking back, I cringe at every word. I actually believed I was standing up for my relationship. Around this time, Tyler mentioned he was having trouble paying rent at his old place and was thinking of breaking his lease early. Since he was basically living with me anyway, I told him to just move in officially. I added him to a couple of my accounts to make things easier. I paid some of his bills just until work picks up again. I told myself that's what partners do, support each other. I was proud of myself for not letting my family control my choices. 2 weeks later, I got a call from the police asking if I could come in to answer some questions about Tyler. I still remember sitting in my car, thinking they must have the wrong person. I actually prepared myself to defend him again. When I got there, they told me multiple women had reported him touching, harassment, coercion, things happening at bars, gyms, workplaces. One of the reports came from my sister. A detective gently asked me if I knew anything. I said no, because at that point it hadn't fully hit me. The next day, police showed up at my apartment and arrested him. Neighbors watched. I stood there frozen while he denied everything. The investigation started unraveling everything. Tyler had been doing this for years long before me. Women had warned others about him. He'd switched gyms more than 6 times. He'd been let go from a job quietly. It was all there if I'd ever bothered to look deeper than the charming surface he presented. Then came the financial blows. The shared accounts I added him to weren't so shared. He'd opened credit cards in my name. He'd maxed out mine. Bills I thought he paid were overdue. He transferred money from my savings. He used my address for loans. My credit score tanked in weeks. I had no emergency fund left. I felt like I'd been mugged emotionally and financially at the same time. When the news spread, my parents were horrified. My sister refused all contact, and honestly, I don't blame her. I humiliated her publicly and forced her to leave Christmas after she tried to warn me. My parents said they hoped I learned something but made it clear they wouldn't be helping financially because I chose him over everyone. And yes, they said it just like that. I know they're angry and disappointed. I'm angry and disappointed too. So now I'm sitting here in an apartment I might not be able to afford next month, sorting through paperwork I don't understand, getting calls from banks, lawyers, debt collectors. Tyler is in jail. I'm not allowed to speak to him even if I wanted to, which I don't. I feel stupid, embarrassed, guilty, used, all of it. And the part that haunts me isn't even him. It's that I grabbed my sister's gifts and told her to get out because I thought she was lying. Update 1. I didn't expect to be back here this soon, but a lot has happened and I feel like if I don't write it down somewhere, my brain is going to start eating itself. The last post blew up more than I expected, which was embarrassing at first, but reading the responses weirdly helped me stop rewriting history in my head. I needed someone outside my family to say, no, this was not normal, so thank you. Anyway, onto the update. After posting, I pretty much shut down for a couple days. I ignored calls, ignored work emails longer than I should have, and mainly stared at the wall replaying Christmas dinner on a loop. The gifts, my sister crying. The silence around the table, me storming around like some self-righteous idiot. Then my mom texted and asked if I would meet with her and my sister. Not separately. Together. Neutral ground. Daytime. Public, but quiet enough to talk. Honestly, I almost didn't go because I assumed it would turn into some emotional intervention where I sat there getting yelled at, and as much as I deserve that, I didn't think I could handle it yet. But I went. Mostly because if I didn't, I knew that would just confirm to everyone that I'm still digging in my heels. When I walked in, my sister already looked exhausted. I hadn't seen her since I kicked her out on Christmas, and I expected her to be cold, or dramatic, or snarky. Instead, she looked like someone who had aged 5 years in 3 weeks. My mom was next to her, doing that stiff, polite posture she reserves for funerals. I was ready to apologize immediately, but they wanted to talk first, especially my sister. She said she needed me to listen without interrupting or defending myself or explaining anything. I agreed, probably too fast, because the truth is, I've been waiting for the actual story and too afraid to ask for it. So she told me. Apparently, Tyler had made comments to her the past couple months, little things she brushed off because she didn't want to start problems. Stuff like telling her she looked grown now, asking if she was dating anyone, saying she had dangerous eyes, that kind of creepy, low-level nonsense that sounds harmless when repeated but feels slimy in the moment. She said she didn't want to upset me, especially because this was the first boyfriend I'd introduced to the family in years. Christmas night wasn't sudden, it was the last straw. At dinner, he sat next to her, even though there was space elsewhere. He kept leaning in close to talk to her, even though she wasn't responding. She tried shifting away. He did the thigh thing once. She froze and convinced herself it was an accident. He did it again, slower, and she realized it wasn't. When she stood up to get water, he followed her into the hallway and told her not to make things weird. Hearing that felt like someone flipped the oxygen off in the room. And here's where I wanted to crawl into the floor. She didn't even want to tell me that night. She was planning to wait until after the holidays because she didn't want to ruin Christmas for me. She walked away from the table because she needed to breathe, not because she was trying to make a dramatic exit. I was the one who chased her down and demanded she explain, and I was the one who dragged it into the living room, in front of everyone, and weaponized her discomfort into some kind of public spectacle. My mom admitted she didn't fully believe my sister either, not at first. That was a surprise. She said she was shocked and wanted to believe it was a misunderstanding because the timing felt unreal. But the reason she didn't defend me or jump in wasn't because she agreed with me, it was because she was trying to process it. She said while I was ranting at my sister, she kept replaying the way Tyler volunteered to sit next to her when we were setting the table, like he'd claimed the seat before anyone else could take it. My sister said the only reason she filed a report was because when she left my apartment crying, she realized he would keep doing it to other women. She couldn't stand the idea of someone else being in that position and not speaking up. She didn't expect it to lead to multiple victims coming forward. She didn't expect him to get arrested. She didn't even expect me to believe her. She just wanted the situation documented so it wouldn't disappear. And then she said something that will probably live rent-free in my head until I die. I didn't want him in jail. I just wanted you to care that it happened. I had no response. I still don't. I apologized and I told her she didn't deserve how I treated her, that I was wrong, and that I would spend the rest of my life feeling disgusted that I sided with a man over my own sister. She said she's not ready to have a sister relationship with me again. Not now, maybe not for a long time. She's going to therapy. She has friends who believe her. She has support. She doesn't need me in her healing space. But she also said she doesn't hate me, which somehow made everything feel heavier, not lighter. Anyway, that's the update. I'll come back if anything major happens. I'm just trying to sit with reality instead of sprinting away from it. Update 2. I didn't think there was anything left to find out, but I was clearly kidding myself. It's been about a month since the last update. I've been trying to keep my head down, work, handle bills, avoid answering family chats, and basically pretend I'm not living inside a Lifetime documentary. Then last week, 2 detectives called me and asked to schedule another in-person meeting. I assumed it was follow-up paperwork or clarifying dates. I didn't panic. I should have. They showed up at my apartment. They reminded me they had a warrant for Tyler's belongings since most of them were still in my storage closet and asked if I would let them collect what he kept here. I had boxed everything up weeks ago because seeing his clothes gave me stress hives. I figured they'd take a suitcase or maybe his computer. Instead, they filled 3 large evidence bags. I didn't want details, but they gave me some anyway because legally I'm tied to the address and timeline. They found multiple phones that weren't the one he used while dating me. Old laptops, SD cards, a little locked metal box. They didn't open anything in front of me, but I saw enough labels on the bags to know this wasn't about unpaid parking tickets. Later that afternoon, one of the detectives called me again and asked me to come down to the station. I thought maybe they changed their mind about me not being a suspect. Turns out no, I was now considered a relevant witness, which is a phrase no one ever wants attached to their name. They informed me they recovered several recordings, not just photos or messages, actual video, clips taken in public places, bars, house parties, gym locker rooms, and yes, even family gatherings. Apparently Tyler had a habit of keeping collections. That was the word used. Collections. It made me want to wash my entire body with bleach. I don't know who the women in the videos are. They didn't show me anything, but they confirmed multiple victims were already identified and more might come forward. And because Tyler lived with me at the time, and because some videos were time-stamped while he was staying here, they needed my official testimony regarding dates, access, movements, holidays, Christmas, everything. That was the moment it really hit. I didn't just date a guy with a shady past, or even a serial cheater. I lived with someone who treated real human beings like souvenirs. I had to give them all my electronics for forensic imaging, laptop, tablet, even my old phone I hadn't used in years. They said it was standard, and I got most of them back a few days later, but the panic of watching strangers walk off with everything that holds your personal life was surreal. They also took the Wi-Fi router, which I didn't even know could store anything. I had to hotspot off my phone like a college freshman. On top of that, I had to hire a lawyer, not because I'm in trouble, but because I wanted someone sitting next to me who understood legal language and wouldn't let me accidentally say something dumb that gets turned into internet conspiracy theories later. I did not have the money for this. I put the retainer on a credit card I should not be using. And yes, finances are worse now. My credit score dropped again because one of the mystery accounts Tyler opened in my name went to collections. I called, sent documents, filed fraud reports, did the whole adult responsible routine, but those things take time that I don't have. Meanwhile, rent is due every month. I sold my car last week because insurance was killing me and the engine light started flickering and I couldn't risk another bill. I take the bus now. It's fine. I deserve the inconvenience. Work hasn't been great either. I told my boss I needed a couple of days off for legal meetings. I didn't give details, but apparently legal meetings is enough for rumors to spread. A coworker asked me privately if I was getting divorced, which would almost be funny if any part of this situation was funny. Another person apparently suggested HR should keep an eye on me because my judgment might be compromised. I wish I were kidding. Nobody at work has said anything directly rude, but people look at me like I'm a cautionary tale. I'll update again if something significant happens, but right now I'm just trying to exist without spiraling. Update 3. It has now been a little over 5 months since Christmas. About 3 weeks ago, the district attorney's office contacted me and said Tyler's preliminary hearing and sentencing would be open to the public. They told me I wasn't required to attend, but that many of the victims planned to be there. I went back and forth for days. I felt like I didn't deserve a seat in that room. because in a way, I helped keep him out of jail longer by refusing to believe what was right in front of me, but I also felt like avoiding it would be cowardly, and I've done enough hiding this year, so I showed up. I wasn't prepared for what it would feel like seeing him again. He looked smaller, somehow. Not physically, just deflated. No charm, no confident posture, no fake warmth. Just a man in a wrinkled jumpsuit staring straight ahead. I didn't feel love, anger, heartbreak, just disbelief that I ever let him into my life. It was like seeing a stranger I vaguely recognized from a past job. There were 7 women total. I didn't know most of their names, but I recognized a couple from photos. Detectives showed me earlier employees from his old gym, a bartender from a place he used to take me, someone from a volunteer event he claimed he loved so much, all of them sitting together like they'd formed a quiet army out of shared damage. My sister was there too. She didn't acknowledge me, which I expected and honestly appreciated. She was sitting next to one of the victims, talking to her like they'd met before. I don't know if they bonded through the investigation or if my sister just decided to support everyone who came forward. She always had a strong sense of justice, even when I chalked it up to being dramatic. The judge went through the charges: unlawful recording, sexual battery, financial fraud, and a handful of others I still don't fully understand. The pattern was undeniable. My sister's statement was near the end. She didn't cry or shake or raise her voice. She spoke like someone who spent months organizing her thoughts so she could get through it without falling apart. She described Christmas night, the comments leading up to it, the hand on her thigh, the hallway moment, how she doubted herself at first, how humiliating it was when I made it public and punished her instead of protecting her. She didn't exaggerate or dramatize anything. She just told the truth, and the truth was heavy enough on its own. I didn't cry until she sat back down and angled her body slightly away from me. Tyler didn't look at anyone except the floor. His lawyer tried to argue he was willing to seek treatment, that he grew up without structure, that prison would be too harsh. Nobody in that courtroom cared. When the judge read the sentence, 10 years in prison, plus mandatory registry requirements after release, there was no cheering or celebration. Afterward, most of the victims left together. My sister walked out with them. I stayed behind until the room emptied because I didn't want to accidentally force interaction. Since then, people keep telling me I should feel vindicated because he fooled everyone. But the difference is, I had warning. I had someone directly telling me what happened, and I chose my pride over reality. I used my sister as a shield against my own embarrassment. I didn't just ignore her, I punished her. That's not something a few months and a guilty verdict can erase. Financially, nothing improved. The debt is still in my name. Some of the fraud is being processed through insurance and investigations, but I was legally tied to him, so a lot of it falls on me whether I like it or not. I'm working extra hours, cutting everything non-essential, selling furniture, considering moving again. I keep hearing people online say, "She deserves it," and maybe they're not wrong. As for family, communication is minimal. My mom calls sometimes, not to talk about feelings, just to check if I'm eating and paying bills. My dad hasn't spoken to me since February. I get it. Anyway, that's where things are now. Final update. Hi again. I didn't think I'd ever post another update, but since it has officially been a year, it feels like the right time to close this out. Also, a few people messaged asking what happened after the hearing, so here we go. Life didn't magically fix itself after he got sentenced. I think on Reddit, people expect the satisfying ending where the villain goes to jail and the main character becomes stronger, wiser, financially stable, glowing, and thriving. That's not what happened. Real life is boring and slow and humiliating in ways you don't think about until you're living it. I'm still paying off debt. A lot of it. Some things were reversed after the fraud investigation, but anything tied to accounts I willingly opened or co-signed stayed on me. The banks didn't care that I was manipulated or lied to. They just saw my signature and my social security number. So I've spent the last year budgeting like a single parent with 6 kids, even though it's just me in a small rented room with a mattress on the floor and a desk I got off Facebook Marketplace. I work full-time and I tutor 2 nights a week. I sell stuff constantly: clothes, old electronics, random decor. I keep spreadsheets now. I never used to. I used to just buy whatever I wanted because I assumed things would always work out. Now I think 3 times before spending $5. I don't hate it, it's just different. I moved out of the old apartment 4 months after everything happened. Every time I walked past the hallway, I remembered the police searching through boxes and drawers. Every time I opened the fridge, I remembered him standing there joking about grocery prices like he wasn't already using my money. The place felt contaminated, so when the lease ended, I left. I couldn't afford a place alone, so now I live with a roommate who mostly minds her business and labels her food. It's not glamorous, but it's peaceful. Work eventually stopped being weird. For a while, people whispered or tiptoed around me, and I could tell they didn't know what to say or whether to feel sorry for me. After a few months, everyone got distracted by other workplace drama, thank God. I'm still embarrassed sometimes, especially when someone remembers he used to pick me up after work, but it's not the center of my life anymore. Therapy helped. I didn't go to learn how to forgive him or make peace with the situation. I went because I genuinely didn't understand how I missed so much, how I convinced myself everyone else was wrong, how I pushed my own sister out of my life over a man who wasn't even good enough to fold laundry. My therapist didn't give me some profound answer. She just said people believe what protects them, and believing he was a monster meant believing I had horrible judgment, and that was scarier to me than anything he actually did. My family situation is still complicated. Things aren't magically healed, but they aren't on fire either. We just exist. We see each other on holidays or birthdays. Last month, we celebrated my niece's 8th birthday. It was the first time my sister and I were together in a setting that wasn't forced or tense. We made small talk about her dog and work, and a TV show we both apparently watch. It was polite, normal, nothing dramatic. She didn't hug me goodbye. She didn't avoid me either, and that felt like progress in its own quiet way. We haven't had a big emotional heart-to-heart. Honestly, I don't think we ever will, and that's fine. She doesn't owe me anything, including closure. I already got more grace than I deserved. My parents still refuse to bail me out financially. At first it felt cruel, but now I'm glad. If they had saved me, I wouldn't have changed. Responsibility has been uncomfortable but necessary. I made decisions, and those decisions had consequences, and now I'm dealing with them. That feels like adulthood in the least inspirational sense possible.